I love churches with screens where you project everything, yes? Because it helps me to help you understand that, I don't know if you knew this, there was a time before churches had screens. Did you know that? Believe it or not, there was a time when there were no screens in churches. So we hung things on walls and on windows and on bishops. So what the bishop wears for centuries has meant to say something. And today I get to wear this beautiful cope. Isn't it pretty? And it was made for me by a friend. And bishops wear copes. They're heavy. And the cope is to remind us of the world. That the weight of the world is on the church's shoulders. The weight of the world is on the church's shoulders. Because the church is supposed to do something about the weight of the world. The church is supposed to bring the gospel, to bring Jesus, to relieve the weight of the world. And so I get a little embarrassed every year this season when we, the church, seem to forget that. So the phone rang in my office Monday, I think, and it was someone from a church sharing with me the terrible news that the choir director had died. So the pastor is devastated, the church is devastated, right? The choir is devastated, and the concern is, what will we do? Because the music for Christmas Eve might not be perfect. So you get the burden of losing a choir director and the burden of Christmas music might not be perfect. It sounds silly, doesn't it? And yet, how many of us live our Christmases carrying grief and a burden, and in addition to carry the grief and the burden, we worry that Christmas might not be perfect, or it might be spoiled, or it might be disappointing, or it might be hard. We seem to have this notion that whether it's for ourselves or for our families or for the baby Jesus, it's all has to be perfect. And then we hear these words from Isaiah, which is what Jesus coming, being born in a manger and wrapped in swaddling cloths, is supposed to be about, at least from God's perspective. The servant says, I've been anointed to bring good news to those who are oppressed and to bind up the brokenhearted and to proclaim liberty to the oppressed and release to the prisoners and comfort to those who mourn. So I wonder, and I've been wondering all week, if Jesus was to come for Christmas, where would Jesus spend Christmas Day? Where would Jesus spend Christmas Eve if he's coming to bring good news to the oppressed, then I guess he's going to be around people who are. If he's really going to bind up the brokenhearted, then I guess Jesus is going to look for people who are. If he's going to preach and proclaim release to the, liberty to the oppressed, release to the prisoners, comfort to the bereaved. Jesus is not going to be around people for whom Christmas is perfect. And if the church is going to pretend that everything is perfect, I got to wonder if Jesus is going to come to church. You ever thought of that? So I said to this lady on the phone, maybe the best Christmas song at the first Christmas after the choir director died shouldn't be perfect. Maybe it needs to be downright bad. Sung through tears. Wow, I've never thought of that, she said. So it's a little church. The choir director directed the choir and played the piano, and they were going to get some special music, right? Which probably means some friends are going to play something. So they met, the choir met. The friends are still going to play. The choir is going to sing without direction. Nobody doing this. And there will be no piano played. It won't be perfect. It'll be heavenly. Yeah? I worry that if our church pretends to be perfect, Jesus will pass us by because we're not about carrying the weight of the world and bringing the gospel to it. Jesus will pass us by because Jesus will be in places where the oppressed and the brokenhearted and the prisoners and the mourning are. So you know how you leave cookies and milk out for Santa? Do you still do that? I do that. I think it'd be a great Christmas gift to leave a sign for Jesus that there are some brokenhearted, oppressed, hurting people in the church. I love these bulbs. This is the second time I've got to play with them. You'll get to play with them too. You get to put them on the tree. And when you put them on the tree, maybe you'll think of the weight that's on your shoulders, or whatever it is that's breaking your heart. And you'll put it on the tree. Maybe you utter a name out loud, or maybe not. But think of it as putting a sign up for Jesus, that there are some broken people, broken-hearted, oppressed people here, and we need him. And he ought to stop by. And then maybe, if the tree gets full of bulbs, when you're driving home and you look over and see the lights in people's houses, in our neighborhood, the lights are perfect. I'm jealous. Because we have no lights in our house, I tell myself, they must have hired people to put up lights. But maybe you could see the lights in the world as like these bulbs, signs to Jesus that there are some oppressed, broken-hearted, mourning people here, and we need him. So maybe Jesus could stop by. The promise is Jesus is coming, wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger, present in bread and wine, given and shed for you, and coming again in the fullness of time, when Jesus will bring good news that is unending and bind up our broken hearts and comfort us when we grieve. As we wait, we can stop pretending to be perfect. Stop trying to make it perfect. And put up a sign that we need Jesus to come and save us. Merry Christmas.